Welcome to Whip It Good with Jimmy Hack. Now, we all have a story of how we started the game of golf, how we got introduced. For me, I was from a family that did not play golf. Parents didn't play, brothers and sisters didn't play. So I was introduced to the game in 1980 by a couple of neighbor buddies of mine. And they just took me out to the course. I did not have golf clubs. I just hit some of their clubs. Found it to be pretty interesting. So by 13 years old, the next summer, 81, using my paper route money, I bought a set of golf clubs, a very beginner set, and I started playing every day and just falling in love with the game. Just loved it. I had quit baseball that summer because it was taking up too much golf time. So I quit baseball for golf, and I got so into it that if you remember back in the early 80s, people read newspapers. And I would read the newspaper in the morning, and I would mostly read the sports page. I started even becoming interested in basically the golf topics, which I'd never really noticed before. I never really read the golf articles. And I kept seeing a very similar thing. It would read, Podolak wins North Dakota State Am, or Podolak wins the KX Amateur or the Pine de Palm. And then finally I saw Podolak wins the United States Golf Association Mid Amateur at Atlanta Athletic Club. So at that moment, I'm thinking, who is this Podolak guy? I don't know much. I'm seeing his name everywhere in the papers up there, and he's doing these big things. And I was always very curious as to who he was. So today, we're going to learn about Mike Podolak, or as we all call him up in North Dakota, Minnesota region, Pody. So, Mike, welcome to the show. I'm looking very forward to this conversation. I think we're going to have a great time today. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your beginnings and how you came to the game of golf, and we'll just start from that.
So, Jimmy Hack, thanks for having me.
You
And you know
bet.
what? I got started before you did. So you were 13. I was probably 6 or 7 or 8. My dad carried beer and he played 9 holes at the Oaks Golf Course. He grew up on a sand green golf course, and I played on sand greens when I was in high school because we didn't have a lot of grass around there in southeastern North Dakota. So, but I played some high school golf and I loved baseball. I never gave it up, and I played Legion ball till I was 18 years old.
Oh, really?
And yeah, in my senior year, my brother said, "What are you going to do next year for college?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go to UND. I'm going to be a Sigma Chi just like you. I'm going to play on the golf team and maybe get good at that, and maybe drink some beer too." He and he and he said no. He said he understood that maybe I had a talent. And Doug, my brother, who caddied for me in the Masters, and we'll probably talk about that later, but he said, "No, I think you got to walk on." And I didn't win anything in high school or around the
Right.
state. I didn't think I had that much ability. And he said, "No," he said, I know a good golfer when I see one, and you're going to get better." And so that's how I got started. And then of course, I found my way to Odessa College. So I'll let you go.
So, Odessa College. But you went with a couple of buddies, correct? Was it Mike Barge and Brad Schmier went down with you?
Yeah, they went down there first. Brad got down there. I don't know how they found him, but he was there as a freshman and played really well, probably the best player in that conference. And then Barry Rodenhaver, the coach, said, "Is anybody else up there like you?" And he said, "Yeah, there's a guy named Mike Barge." So he called Mike, and Mike accepted a scholarship. So he was on his way down, and somehow my brother knew that. And he said, "Why don't you go to Odessa College and just walk on?" I said, "Are you nuts? I'm not going to do that. It's down there in West Texas. I'm going to miss my girlfriend, everything else. I want to be at UND." So he convinced me, and I got down there, and that's how I got to Odessa College because my brother kind of kicked me in the butt and said, "Go give it a shot."
How long was it before you started playing, traveling with the Odessa team? Was it that first year or was it later on?
It was right away. I don't know why this happened that way. My mom and my sister-in-law, Doug's wife, Rita, um, drove me down there, and I showed up at the coach's office after I'd actually enrolled in a couple classes and walked in his office, and I said, "Hi, I'm Mike Podolak. You're the golf coach. I know Brad Schmier a little bit, Mike Barge a little bit, but I'm here to play golf. I'm a walk-on." He said, "Whoa." He said, what? I didn't expect another North Dakota guy down here, especially as a walk-on. And I said, well, he says, I've got 15 guys on scholarship,
Wow,
and I've only got so much room at these golf courses with the number of players I have. He said, I can't take a walk-on. I said, well, I'm disappointed to hear that, but I'm here to stay and enrolling in classes right now, and I'm not going home. And I would love for you to give me a chance. And he looked at me and he didn't know what to say really, because now I'm selling myself to him. And he said, all right, he said, here's the deal. Um, he said, by the way, your hair is too long and you need a haircut. He said, well, how many classes have you enrolled in? He said, we got to play in the afternoon. You got to have morning classes. I said, well, I'll get my hair cut. I'll enroll in whatever I can, and I'll come back and see you tomorrow. He said, okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
that's great. Good for you though for going for it because that's a big move. I mean, leaving the state of North Dakota, leaving a girlfriend behind, and not really having a shot for the team. Very amazing. Kind of similar to what I went through. I really wanted to play college golf and I wanted to play somewhere in the South. So I
Right.
moved to Arizona right after high school, and I wasn't going to school. I just worked at a municipal golf course in Tempe, and I worked on my game all winter. Worked half the day, played golf half the day, and that was my life. And the very next year, I went out and I tried out for the Arizona State golf team, which at that by that point, because I'd lived in Arizona almost a year at that point, I had in-state residency, so much cheaper. So I entered Arizona State, was a walk onto the golf team, and in the fall of '88, I got on the golf team the same year Phil Mickelson joined the team
Wow.
as the biggest blue chip recruit of all time until a guy named Tiger Woods showed up later. But
Right.
yeah, I played at the ASU team for a year and a half, and kind of similar in that nobody knew who I was, nobody was expecting me, and I was very proud of that to make that team. But
It's
it was tough to break that into that top five. So I was on a team of 12 players, but only five, sometimes six go to events. So I ended up transferring to Oregon State. But no, I love to hear your story that you were able to just go for it and do it. So that's and to play right away. That's impressive.
So I walked in the next morning with my hair cut, enrolled some classes the best I could, and he said, okay, we got a qualifier coming up. He said, I've decided that I'm going to give you a shot because you're not going home. I said, thank you. I'm going to do the best I can. And, it's probably divine intervention with from God that I went out. It was a 54-hole qualifier, and I finished sixth out of 16 guys. I'm the 16th. And he was stunned. And again, I think it's because it was supposed to happen. I played the best golf of my life. I was shocked at the three scores that I shot. And I'm thinking, at that point, now I know I'm getting better. And I think I needed more competition, which, I always go back and I say, and I'll get back to that story, but you know what? I've told people, casual golf, I don't score as well. I've always played my best golf when it meant something.
That's
And
great.
it's kind of rare. And I'm lucky to have that quality, I think. And I recognized it. And anyway, he only took five to the tournament. So one guy got injured. And now I'm in number five spot. And I made the first event that they
Ah,
went to with Brad Schmear, Mike Barge, and now Mike Podolak's on the team. And now we're kind of chumming out and they're going, where are you from? Oaks, North Dakota? And there was a guy down there by the name of Dave Nelson who was a first cousin of my my brother's wife Rita. And anyway, Dave was there too
ah,
at Odessa College. It's weird. He went down to play golf, and he didn't make the team, and so he was a sophomore. But anyway, I made the team on the first qualifier, and as they say, the rest is kind of history, and you know what? I did get better. My game got better and better. Um, it's a good story. It really is.
oh, it's wonderful. Let me ask you this. You said competition is what gets you going. Would you say you're an intense guy, or would you say you're a hyper focused guy, or is it just that because of the competition, that's when you tuned in and that's when you got the most out of what you had?
Well, when I was in high school, Hack, I was I was a good baseball player. It was my favorite sport. I was a decent basketball player, quarterback in the football team, but never good enough to go into college stuff with all that stuff. And I played enough golf, but I never dreamt that golf was going to be that it would change my life, and I would do what I did as a competitive golfer. And to answer your question, I do like competition. I don't play hardly any competitive golf anymore, but I had a good run for like 30, 35 years, and I loved it. I just couldn't wait to get to the first tee and see if I could beat everybody.
That's tremendous, and I love the sports background. I mean, that's tremendous because it gives you that competitive edge as well by playing other sports and pushing yourself to improve. I mean, if you're playing high level baseball, if you're the quarterback, if you're a guard in basketball or what have you, you've got to focus and practice and grind it out. So that I think that leads nicely to golf.
You're kind
So
of on your own. With golf, you're kind of you are on your own. If you can find a good coach. I didn't find a good coach until I met John Dahl, and we'll get to him. But you know what? I had good coaches in baseball, basketball, football, and they taught me how to, be a good team player, but how to compete, which is really important.
very important, very important. Well, let me ask you this. So how many years were you at Odessa? Because I know you went on to SMU. How did that transpire? How did that happen?
I played 2 years at Odessa College with Mike Barge, and we both got recruited as a package to SMU.
Ah, nice.
And the previous year, we finished second in the National Junior College Championship, and I finished second individually to Mike Donald.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, I remember that name.
yeah, and I just had the best golf tournament of my life down in Florida at the National Junior College Championship, and then I realized, and I thought in my own mind, I can do this. I can even get better than this, and so I wound up at SMU with Mike, and we I didn't do so hot at SMU. I really didn't. I think I probably regressed.
Okay,
The players
interesting.
were better. Southeastern Conference, just a lot of good 4-year level players. Houston, Texas, all those big time schools, and the players were better at SMU. And I played probably half the meets at SMU.
Okay.
Then I graduated. Yeah,
But your senior year, was that the year that Payne Stewart came in?
Payne came in, and Mike and myself our senior year as a freshman from Springfield, Missouri is where he's from. Yeah.
All right.
And we could tell right away he was a good player and young, needed to understand college, wanted to have a good time, but yet wanted to play golf and everything else, all that stuff mixed in. I hope it helped him that he met Mike and I, that we'd like to have a good time too.
Yeah, you gotta have some people to run with, so that's
Yeah,
great.
Payne was a fun-loving guy. He really was. Yeah,
Did his swing look pretty similar then as it did when he played the tour?
it did. It did. We became friends that year, and Mike went. I came back to SMU the following year to finish my degree. So I played one semester with no eligibility with the golf team. And by then, Payne's a sophomore now, and he's the best player in the team for sure. And his balance, his rhythm, and everything else looked the same then. I got a good memory as when he got out there, and he struggled for a while, but eventually that great rhythm and his great touch that he had and that style that he had just sent him to be a rock star.
Yeah. Wow. Were you able to go watch him at Hazeltine when he won? I don't remember what year that was.
91,
I do. Okay.
1991. Yeah,
Were you there for any of the days?
I was there. I was there. I didn't bug him. I was next to the putting green, and I kind of went, "Psst, hey, Payne." He turned around and he said, "Bodie, hey." I said, "Hey." He said, "No problem." He walked over, we shook hands, and he was in contention the whole tournament, and he finally won it. But it was really a cool deal. It was great to see him win it. Mike Barge was at Hazeltine uh,
Oh yeah.
as an assistant pro when Payne won, and there's a beautiful picture of the staff and Payne after he had won, they all got a beer in their hand and they're all having a good time, and that's, yeah. So I was there, yes, in
Yeah.
1981, yeah,
Well, that's great.
1991, pardon
Yeah,
me.
91. Yeah, that to maintain a great friendship with him, and we all know how terrible it was in 1999 when he passed, and how just so unexpected. So that had to be hard because I know you knew him well and even knew his family a bit. So that
Right.
must have been a tough moment.
It was a tough moment in 99, but we stayed. So after, let's see here, after college, before he won the Open, SMU would have a fundraiser, and it was kind of called Payne Stewart Day. And he would uh, show up, hit golf balls, stand on one tee and hit drives as the groups came through. And I did that for, I think, 2 or 3 years before I actually quit doing it. But no, Payne was a good friend. Then I played with him in the '86 Masters. We played a full practice round together, and met his wife and met his daughter Chelsea, who was only 1 year old at that time. We didn't connect and stay together, but we were always friends, and we didn't keep track of each other because he became famous, and I went back and hopped into the insurance business and tried to make a living.
Well, you became famous in my mind, and every other Midwestern golfer who's heard your name. I mean, a lot of us would consider you the Bobby Jones of our area because your amateur status, all that you had won, played in tons of USGA events. So I mean, yeah, and we'll even get into that in a bit, the amount of USGA events, which is incredible to play that many. But let's now take it. I know that after college, you did go to Q school, you narrowly missed, and then you went back to North Dakota and just try to regroup, try to figure out what you're going to do. Is
Right.
that about the time you met John Dahl?
Yeah, I got my amateur stats back in I think it was either late '79 or early in 1980. And I started, sticking my toe in the water with competitive golf again, with tournaments and stuff like that. And um, I qualified for the 1981 U.S. Amateur at Olympic Club. And that was my first USGA event. And I went out there, I was just all excited. And I couldn't believe when I got there how hard the Olympic Club was, the
Yes.
lake course. And they had two golf courses, the ocean course and the lake course. I played the ocean course first. I shot 78, which wasn't terrible, but I shot 90 on the lake course the next day.
Wow.
90. And the par was 70, so I shot 20 over. And I was just trying to make pars and bogeys. And I made too many doubles as well to get to 90. So I came home kind of with my tail between my legs. And John Dahl had just moved from Watertown, South Dakota to Oxbow, North Dakota, the club down there where I'm at right now. And I knew John from before, but then we kind of connected, and I said, I need some help. I got to do something different. Um, and so that's how our relationship started. And the moment I met John, I got better. I got better in a hurry. Yeah.
I met many people back in the day that would go see John Dahl, and I kicked myself for not visiting with him. I mean, I like John; he was always nice to me, but I just couldn't necessarily afford lessons, so I kind of avoided that. But I think it would have been worth the investment because everyone I talked to who spent time with John Dahl got better,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, he's a
Yeah.
tremendous icon for the golf game in our
Here's
area.
a, here's a quick little note about John Dahl. And as our relationship grew and I got better and better, and I played in a lot of USGA stuff. But people would ask me, why do you take so many lessons? You play so well. Always see you out there on the range with John Dahl taking a lesson. I said, you know what? Uh, for one thing, I like being around the guy. Uh, I like what he says to me, which is all positive stuff. And I said, I like to have John see me when I feel like I'm doing my best. When I'm
That's a
swinging the
great point.
best, I want him to, and that's a lesson too. And
Yes.
he could tweak something, whatever, but he's just a cool guy to be around. I still take lessons today, even though I
Uh,
don't play competitive golf.
hey, back in the day in the '80s, let's say, what were some of the things you guys would work on? Like, what was the basis thing that you guys would deal with?
Yeah, you know what? After that, my disappointment at the 81 amateur, I had to get the ball higher in the air. Um, it just so John's a fundamental guy. Grip, stance, alignment, get the club behind you, turn your body, all the stuff that works. And I know that actually playing, but teaching actually has evolved. He would tell you the same thing if you talk to him. He'd say over the last 30, 40 years, and he's been teaching that long, golf, teaching has evolved as well, like equipment and everything else. And these great instructors like he is, he's a top 100
Yep.
in America, was had that distinction for I don't know how many years. It was several. Uh, they talk to each other. They find different ways to make people better. And but usually it comes down to fundamentals, ball placement, ball position, all that stuff.
Well, and I love what you said about you took lessons even when you were hitting it great and feeling
Right.
good, because then he can reaffirm everything you're doing, and then it stays stronger in your mind. Because as golfers, we've all had this like, I got it today, and then the next day you don't got it. So
Then it goes away.
exactly. So you were able to probably reaffirm all the basic fundamentals that he was providing and encouraging. And yeah, I think that's a tremendous viewpoint on learning the game, teaching the game, and just getting better.
Yeah, he was a very positive influence in my life, like my brother was and my dad. But they were doing their thing, and I'm playing amateur golf now. And I made a relationship with John, and it was we're such best friends now, and we how much he cares about golf, and he's made a couple thousand people better.
Yeah, oh, I
That
believe it.
might be 5,000 people. I don't know. He probably hasn't kept track, but I remind him, you know what? You were a big influence on everybody
Yeah.
that got to know you. Yeah,
Hey, you know what you got me thinking about is golf really hit me in the early 80s, and that's when I fell in love with it.
yeah.
So as I've gotten older and established my orange whip business, I like to collect things. So this is just one example. This is an Iomatic tourney
What a
custom
beautiful
driver.
golf club. Look at how shiny that thing is.
Oh yeah, I got some people to help me refinish it locally,
I got a
and
few of those myself.
I've got four full sets of clubs that would have been the best clubs back in the '80s at that time. And if I could ever get you and John Dahl or any of you guys to come down and play, I always have my friends who've played with the persimmons, the baladas, the blades, and we go play. There's a couple of courses near me that still fit that type of golf.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that a
So
laminator driver?
that's persimmon.
Is that persimmon? It's not
Yep,
a layered laminated. Okay. Yeah, we all hit persimmon for years, Jim, and you know what? It's incredibly beautiful. It really is. And now the all hard steel stuff, just it'd be fun. I haven't done this. It'd be fun to go out and grab three or four other guys or three guys and make a foursome and say, look, you got any old stuff in your
yep,
closet? Here's what I'm going to hit today. I'm going to drive it all day with it with a
yep.
different golf ball. Do you suppose a golf ball bounces off a new golf ball like now, 2020 golf ball, call it. Here we are in 25, would bounce differently off of that club than it
Yes,
does on the metal? Yeah,
yep.
I
It
believe that
does.
too.
Because the old balls, the baladas that we played were they spun so much, and you needed to because these heads were smaller, and you weren't creating the jump off the face like the metal clubs of today.
Right.
So yeah, so actually with the four sets of clubs that I have balada balls that I found on eBay. Now some of them I get are bad. They've probably been left out in a storage shed in 100-degree heat for 40 years, but
Sure.
some of them are good, and I think they may have been kept inside the house. So yeah, like I said, I've had some friends come down and we play, and the first hole or two they're kind of going, God, this is kind of stupid. This is hard,
This
but
isn't fun.
yeah, but then once they figure it out and they start, because you can start to shape shots with your driver, which is hard to do now. You can start to hit different looking shots, and the
Right.
ball is so rubbery that like wedges, you spin it like crazy. So it was a whole different game. So that's an interesting thing for my age, and when you lived through all of it from playing with the original stuff to what's going on now. So you've seen tremendous changes in the game.
Yeah, the box grooves with the pings, and that became an issue, and the ball spun too much, and everything else. So it's, ping when they built those new irons, they changed the game as well. They really did.
Very much, very much. So tell me this. So you're back in North Dakota. You played in the U.S. Amateur, and then when did you first win your North Dakota State Amateur?
I won the match play in 1982.
Okay.
1982. I've got six match plays. I mean, I've won quite a few individual events in North Dakota over the years, but that was my first North Dakota championship was 1982. And you know what? That year I won the low amateur at the North Dakota Open. I won the Rough Rider at Edgewood. I won the Pine to Palm. Um, yeah, they called it Bill Swanston looked at me at the end of 1982 and he says, "You won everything in the county, man." I said, "Well, I guess I did." Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, that's
82 was
tremendous.
my first, big one. You bet.
Okay, and then it just started. You went on just a roll. Like you probably won multiple. I mean, I think you won like six or eight of the match plays, and then the stroke plays. Um, but you went on this roll, and then you ended up. Tell us about qualifying for the USGA Mid Amateur at Atlanta Athletic Club.
Yeah, I qualified. So to back up, I played in the 81, 82, and 84 US Amateur.
Hmm.
Okay. And none of those three did I make the match play, which is the low 64. It goes
Yep.
into match play. And I played in the 82 and 83, no, the 80, 81, 82 mid amateur. And so the mid amateur, which was played at the Atlanta Athletic Club the year that I won it, I qualified in Sioux Falls, went to Atlanta. That was my sixth USGA event without making a match play. Fifth or sixth. I'm missing something there. So I made the cut by a couple of shots in Atlanta. Um, Golf course was brutally hard. It was wet. It rained most of the week. I got to match play and I won my first match in sudden death, extra holes. And then I won another match and I won another match, beat a Walker Cupper. And I, I, I just felt like I was like maybe on a roll and I didn't know how it would change my life if I won this golf tournament. If I'd have known how it was going to change my life, I probably would have choked my guts out, you know. But anyway, that's how I got there. I qualified in Sioux Falls and I got there and I made the match play and I won six in a row, six
Wow.
matches in a row. Yeah, I was stunned.
And I read some of the article that you sent me from the USGA Golf Journal, and like even that situation with and it might have been with David Jacobson with the ball in the water on
Sure.
18. Yeah, I mean, so many things got to be going through your head at that time.
Well,
That
it's a story that we're I'm one down after 17 holes. And the 18th at the Atlanta Athletic Club is over water and it's a beast of a hole. We both kind of drove it in the right rough, and I had to go first because he's a little bit ahead of me. Of course, I knock it in the water, and I see he's got this long iron in his hand and he's not laying up. And I'm going, okay, we'll see how this goes. Uh, Expected him to lace it on the green and, beat me by two shots and the match is over, right? I lose two up. And he knocks it in the water. And the referees get down there and they determine that I get to play first because my ball went in the water on a different angle than he did. I got to drop in the fairway, hit a wedge on the green. I got that for five. And he has to drop in the Bermuda rough and he flops it in the water.
oh man,
Yeah. And I make a six, he makes an eight, and we go to the first tee and I hit it about 10 feet. He knocks it in the bunker and easy, an easy one. I'm in the final now. It's
wow,
you can't make it up. That probably
that's
still wakes him up at night. I don't know
yeah,
when he should have laid up.
yeah, exactly. Wow. But you're right. That had to have changed your whole perspective on life and golf and everything at that very moment. I mean, I bet you could look at that as a crystallizing moment for everything. And it's still probably today, it's still probably as vibrant in your mind as it was then.
I hopped on a cart. I remember this vividly. To go back to the clubhouse, we rode back, and the USGA, Bob Hooper was his name, said, "Congratulations, young man, you have just won the United States Mid-Amateur." And at that time, I'm going, "That's really cool," but it really hadn't hit me yet.
Yeah.
So I went in the clubhouse. I was calling my dad, and I'm on the phone with my dad, and somebody walks in there maybe 15, 20 minutes later and says, "Hey, you got to get out here. There's kind of a presentation with the trophy." And I forgot all about that. So I said, "Dad, I gotta go." And I had no idea what I had done at that point, really. I mean that. I knew it
Yeah.
was a big deal, but I was kind of in shock, actually. Very surprised that I had done that. I didn't really know how to get on the plane and go home and tell everybody that I won the Mid-Am, and I go, wow.
Well,
Uh,
let me ask you this. The USGA always has very big trophies. Even how do you get that trophy home?
they shipped it to me
Oh, they okay. Okay, good.
in a big crate.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah, yeah, it was, and I had it for a year, and then I had to give it back.
So, I mean, that was a crystallizing important moment in your life. In the very same year, for me, and a way lesser scale, but having the same impact on me, as I stated earlier, I started golf later on, like 13 years old is when I really started to play, and I made it onto the varsity team in ninth grade, and then by 10th grade, I was starting to play better, and but still not a great player. I was probably averaged 80 as my average score
Yeah.
during the high school season, which I'm not a very good cold weather player, and North Dakota in the spring is cold and windy. But we end up having our state high school tournament at Edgewood Golf Club in Fargo, and I go out there and I have the day of my life. I end up shooting 71 in the first round of the state high school tournament, and I'd made like a 35 or a 40-foot putt on the last hole at Edgewood, big breaker, and it goes in, and that was amazing to me at that. But then what happened was the very next morning, all of the newspapers have stuff like Hackenberg leads state high school tournament, or Hackenberg leads Grand Forks Central to the lead in the state high school tournament. Well, my mind exploded with possibility at that time, and it was like, but it's
What am
way
I
different.
doing here?
Yeah,
How do I choke this away, right?
exactly. So, well, I ended up finishing third. I was beat by second place was Gary Kaiser. You probably remember Gary Kaiser,
No,
and
Fargo North guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and Patrick Moore won the state high school as an eighth grader. He was an eighth grade kid from Minot, and
Yeah.
he won. And so that was a pretty impactful thing. And Pat Moore and I have been lifelong friends since. And I actually even caddied for Pat Moore on the tour when he was out there for a couple of years on the PGA tour.
So, but back to the Mid-Am when I won it, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what I was doing. I was winning matches. I was feeling good. Didn't I, did it's not a consequence. I didn't understand really, and I'm glad I didn't, because I kind of forgot about where I was at, what I was doing, and what would happen if I won the golf tournament. I just was kind of in the moment. And like I said before, if I'd have known how it was going to change my life, being on the Walker Cup team and playing in the Masters and going on to do other stuff, I might not have won the golf tournament.
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure.
You
I mean,
know,
yeah, because
It-
that would distract from your focus. So yeah, absolutely. That's
yeah, yeah.
have you found that moment often in your competitive days, like that experience?
Well, once that happened to me, then I understood what had happened, and then you deal with the change in your life. You get invitations to play in the big tournaments, and everybody's looking at you, and you're expected to play as well, if not better. And then those expectations can either be good or bad for you. And as it turns out, it was good for me because I did get better even after that. I did, in my
Oh, yeah.
opinion.
Well, if
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through some of my notes. I mean, I think it's you've played in like 26 USGA events or 27,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And then just the places you've played, because I mean they don't pick bad golf courses, so that's got to be a tremendous treat. But that's high level stuff to play that
Yeah.
many USGA events, and like you said, you probably got invited to Sunny Hannah's or different other types of events, north south
Cups, the
events.
Sunny Hannahs, the Southerns, all that stuff. I felt like I was on an airplane in the summertime. There's probably, I don't know, 10, 12 weeks where there's something going on, whether it's a state event or something nationally. And, uh, there was a stretch of 12, 15 years where I was on an airplane 6, 7 times a summer going to a national event,
Wow.
you
And
know,
I'm sure you got to be good friends with a lot of these guys, like the Jay Siegels and the Lou
yes.
what Bob
Bob
Lewis,
Lewis.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
Bob
probably
Lewis, who I beat in the final at Mid Amateur in Atlanta, we became best friends. Um, even though I throttled him 5 and 4, he
he's still in the hangout. Now, would you guys hang out on the range and talk about stuff as well, or just
sure.
yeah, okay, yeah. So you were
Yeah, it was fun to
competitors.
be around those guys because you learn stuff, you watch them swing, you paid attention to their short game, and that was just an environment that I was lucky to be in. But it was great stuff, and it lasted a long time for me. I played really good golf for a long time.
Oh yeah, no, that's tremendous. So the very next year, you get picked to be on the Walker Cup team. Tell us a little bit about that, like how you got picked and how it all went down. I mean, some of the names of that team are tremendous, so it must have been a great experience.
Yeah, Jay Sagal, who sponsored me at Pine Valley in 1990 when I became a member, and that's where the Walker Cup was. So that summer before the Walker Cup team was selected, after I'd won in '84 the Mid-Am, so this is summer of '85. And I played at the Porter Cup, the Sunny Hannah, the Southern, and Jay was at all these tournaments. And Jay was named the captain of that team long before the team was selected. And he'd bump into me from time to time. We'd shake hands and say hello, and he'd say, "What are you going to be playing in? Keep playing. Just keep, you get an invite." He said, "Make sure you take it." He stopped short of saying, "We're looking at you," as a mid-am champ, maybe a prodigy from North Dakota to be on the Walker Cup team. So I did play. I played most of the summer in that stuff, and I played well. And let me think about this. It was probably late July, early August, about 7 o'clock in the morning. Billy
Really?
Joe Patton, Billy Joe Patton
Oh yeah.
called me from Golf House or out east someplace. He said, "Is this Mike Podolak with that Eastern drawl?" I said, "Yes, it is." And I thought somebody was jabbing me, right? He said, "This is Billy Joe Patton. Would you accept an invitation to play on the United States Walker Cup team in 1985?" I said, "What?" Of course, I said yes, and we had a short conversation. He said, we'll be in touch." And I hung up the phone. A good friend of mine who was living with me at the time, Craig Bawley, I started jumping around, hopping around. He says, "What's up?" I said, "I'm going to the Walker Cup." I remember that like it was yesterday. It was so much fun.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't.
so
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That that he, as the captain, would be making the picks, kind of like Keegan Bradley does for the U.S. team. So
yeah,
I guess I didn't process that, but yeah, he would have been heavily involved in that.
yeah, I'm sure they were looking at all the college players like Davis Love and Duffy Waldorf and Jerry Haas, who you had a chat with.
Yep.
Oh, I could name them all, but the young guys, Sam Randolph,
Yep.
uh, just wonderful players. And I knew once I knew who the team was, and I was going to hop on an airplane and go out there and be with all these guys for the better part of a week, that I was in some tall cotton. Okay. Um, I was with the best in the country, and I was totally flattered that I was selected, and it worked out great. It was just a wonderful experience.
Well, I had the good fortune to play Pine Valley 3 days in a row back in 2001, and you were a member there. You played the Walker Cup there.
Yeah.
Even though if you're hitting it poorly, it will beat you up, but if you hit it well, you can play the golf course. And I loved it. It was a tremendous experience. I hope one day to get back to play because it was an experience I can't forget. And even something as subtle as the showers at Pine Valley are unbelievable because they're fed with like 2-inch pipes, which I don't think is legal these days. But it feels like this you're getting a tub of bath water poured on your head all at the same time.
The
Do you know
shower
what I'm talking?
the
Yeah.
shower heads were this big, like pan head showers, and now they're available to everybody. But I think they had had them for 40 years.
Yeah. And
You
they and
know,
the feed of the pipes, it's not legal to have I think it's a 2-inch pipe. I think it's supposed to be a half inch. But they got grandfathered in, just from what I understand, so they can still
and
do
it
it.
and it hasn't changed. I know that.
Oh, no,
So
that's a
cool.
great experience. And then just to play matches on it, and then you guys end up winning against. Now that was just Great Britain, Ireland, wasn't it? That's not like all of Europe. Is that correct?
And it's still just Great Britain and Ireland and Wales, those
Okay.
around England and Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland
Okay.
against the U.S. team. Yeah,
Okay.
it's th them against us. Yeah,
So now playing in that, you got an automatic invitation to a pretty important tournament. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, the Masters. So I knew that the way it worked back then was if you're on the Walker Cup team, this goes all the way back to Bobby Jones.
Yep.
He put the rules in place because he was an amateur, career amateur, and always paid attention to amateur golf and wanted amateurs in that field, even though it's a professional tournament. So if you remained amateur the following year and didn't turn pro, and some of those guys turned pro, then you got an invite to play in the Masters. And it was like you get the invite in the mail and they go, this is real, man. I'm gonna go have to do this too. You talk about nerved up.
Hey, so obviously you're preparing for it, but tell us how you got to the Masters that year.
Then you bring that up. But it's a cool story. My brother at that time, Doug, who caddied for me in the event, lived in Charlottesville, Virginia. And so the Masters would have been the second or third week in April. So I went out there, I suppose, 10 days early to play some golf. I'm stuck
Sure.
in North Dakota. I'm not doing anything up here. You're not playing golf inside like they do now. But uh, so I got there and we played for 4, 5, 6 days. And I met a neighbor of his that Doug was a good friend with. His name is Bob Rotella.
Oh yeah.
And we all know who Bob is.
Yeah.
And so, this is in 1986. So this is 40 some years ago before Bob became really, really famous. And he was Doug's neighbor. And we played a couple of rounds of golf, Doug and myself, Bob Rotella, and another friend. And so we got done. I got as sharp as I could. And a couple days before I got to get down to Augusta, my brother Doug said, "So how are you going to get to Augusta? You get your plane ticket bought?" I said, "No." Um, I just said no to him. He said, "So what are you going to do?" I said, I just bought a bus ticket on Trailways for like 50 bucks, whatever, from Charlottesville to Augusta. And he said, "What?" I said, "Well, yeah, no one else is going to buy me a plane ticket, and I didn't have any money, and it was expensive, and the easiest way to get there was get on that bus." So I get to, we make a couple of stops. I get to Augusta about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I think I left at maybe 3 in the afternoon. That bus drove all night long, and it was the worst bus ride you can ever imagine. Everybody was yapping, and anyway, it wasn't a good experience. So I get there, I'm tired, hadn't slept. So we get off the bus, and they're taking luggage off, and there's this black portly gentleman that is helping everybody out. He grabs this golf bag off, and it says and my travel bag said United States Walker Cup team. And he put it down and he said, "Whose is this?" I said, "That's mine, sir." He said, "I suppose you're here to play in the Masters." I said, "As a matter of fact, I am." And it is so funny. He grabbed his gut and went,
Oh,
"You're here to play in the—" He said, the last time that I remember somebody came to Augusta to play in the Masters that got off a bus, it's got to be in the 50s, maybe the early 60s. I said, "Well, here I am, man." I said, I need to find a phone. I got to call a cab. At that time, he probably wasn't believing me. And so
yeah,
now this guy is following me around. He's kind of shadowing me, and he shows me to the pay phone, and I call a cab. Takes a cab 20 minutes or so to get there, and uh, now this guy won't leave me alone.
yeah, I bet.
It was really cute. It was.
Oh no,
Anyway, that's my bus ride story.
well, what a great week. Tell us a little bit about the week over there.
Well, the week, a lot of the amateurs stay in the Crow's Nest, which is right above the clubhouse. Nice spot, it really is. I stayed there the first night. So anyway, I get there, I get to the tournament, or I get to the site, I get to Augusta that morning, and they know who I am, so I tell them who I am, and they said, "Mr. Horde Harding, Mr. Harden would like to talk to you." I was one of the first, I think I probably was the first player on the property that Thursday morning. So I had a nice chat with him. It was very special. Horde Harding was his name.
I remember that name.
Oh yeah, a former chairman of the board there. And I went up to the Crow's Nest, took a nap for a couple hours, and took a shower and went down. And I'm ready to get on the golf course, right? Had a little bite to eat and grabbed a caddy, and away I went and played. And that night when I got done, I came down and I was the only one in the restaurant, in the dining room. And I'm sitting there, and they I'm had gave him my order, and I'm just kind of sitting there and kind of looking around, and I'm all by myself besides me and the waiter, and he's out, and I'm looking around. I felt like somebody was watching me. I felt like I was being creeped on, in a good way.
Yeah.
All the pictures and all the memorabilia, and I'm realizing where I'm at, and it was really cool. But that week, after that day, my brother got there. He caddied for me. I think I ran around that place, including the two competitive rounds, and I missed the cut. I probably ran around there 10 times.
Really?
Yeah, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, uh, Thursday, Friday. I might have embellished that. I probably ran around there 9 times. Yeah, played a full practice round with Seve Ballesteros,
Did you?
Bob Lewis, and myself, and Mac O'Grady. I think it might have been Tuesday. Um, Played a full practice round with Payne on Wednesday, Payne Stewart. Um, Played the par three event, par three contest. My whole family was there. My girlfriend, who was my wife now, Brenda. We had a house rented, so I stayed in the Crow's Nest just one night, and then went to our house, and some friends and my family got there, and so it was a week to remember. It was just so special. Yeah.
Have you been back at all since then?
To Augusta,
Yep.
have not been back. Not as a spectator or a guest or nothing. No, it's that was 86. So do the math. Is that 40 years? Or is that 50 years?
Hey, I don't know if you've ever heard this story. Um, and actually, I'm getting kind of a reverb. Does it sound different to you on your end?
No, I can hear you. Yep.
Oh, you hear fine. Okay. So you know the King Fruit family, and I've worked with Mike King Fruit for many years. He told me a really interesting story once. So Mike King Fruit's a PGA pro. His dad was a PGA pro, and his grandfather was a PGA pro. His grandfather was a tremendous player back in the 30s, and he'd go to Florida in the winter and then come up to North Dakota and be a head pro in the summer. He won a couple of tournaments that winter against some big time people. And Didn't think much about it. Drove his station wagon back to North Dakota. He got an invitation for a new event called the Masters at Augusta National in 1932 or 33. And he
Sure.
said, he goes, well, I'm not going to drive back there. So he didn't play.
I mean, that's, back when did Bobby Jones start it? I mean, he built it and he started the Masters in 33, 32, 34.
Yeah, it's right
So
around
something
there.
like that. Yeah. So your microphone did kind of quit on you. Yeah.
Did it? Is it? How about now? Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay. Yeah, that's something. Like I said, I'm new to some of this technology as well in regards to the dash over here.
Yeah, and
So
you know what? I missed the cut and we stayed Saturday, Sunday, and went home on Monday. Of course, that's the year Nicholas won it, and we watched him make eagle on 15 and birdie on 16 and birdie on 17, and there must have been 20,000 people running after him hole to hole. Really, really great. Yeah, it was. You know what? It went so fast that you look back on it, and think about this. That's back when before cell phones. I
yes,
don't think we had cell phones in 86. Maybe we did. If they were first generation. They were brick phones kind of like this.
yeah.
Um, so I don't really have any pictures from
I,
that
s-
event.
I suppose not, unless somebody brought a camera, which you cannot
It's
do.
I've got a picture of my brother and myself with my Walker Cup bag, which weighed about 50 pounds, and I made him carry that thing up and down those hills. With his jumpsuit on and me standing there, we posed and right in front of the clubhouse. So that's really the only picture I have of my experience at the Masters in '86. Because my mom had a little one of those you buy them in a grocery store, the little cameras that uh, little box camera,
Oh, sure, yeah.
and we couldn't find any of those pictures over the years. So we the only memorabilia I got is a flag. My brother saved his shoes. I've got a parking pass. Um, I got a scorecard. I got the stuff I signed anyway, I don't have too much,
Okay.
but I
Wow.
got memories.
Yes.
And at Augusta National, the night before my first competitive round, I was sleepless, and my fiance Brenda was beside me, and she said, "Mike, you can do this." I was unsure of myself, and that's how much support she has given me over the years. We got married in 1990. The Masters was in 86, and we started having babies in 92. And you know what? I kept playing golf for 20 years. And I was gone sometimes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And she had Kate and Laura, our two girls, by herself. We had grandparents close, but she was basically by herself. And she gave me the freedom to continue my what I thought was a pretty nice amateur golf career. But I was on an airplane a lot. I was out of the house all the time, and she never once complained about anything. She knew I had a talent to play golf, and she was proud of me. And she was the best support system that I had because, when I came home on a Sunday night or a Monday morning, um, she always gave me a hug and said, "Did you have a good time? Did you play well?" And it was so much fun. And she's been my inspiration and my security blanket when you're raising kids. And she let me do what I wanted to do, and that was play competitive golf, and I loved it. And she just supported me all the time.
Wow. That's so fortunate. You hear about guys who've done great things in life, but it's always so often they have somebody so helpful, so supportive in the background. And she's been there since the early days for you. So that's a tremendous story. I love to hear that because you couldn't have probably done a lot of this without her, and it gave you the ability to do it. So that's very lucky, very fortunate. You did well in that department. So
And you know what,
congratulations.
Jim? You know what? One more thing. You know what? In a different environment with somebody else, What I just described, which was wonderful for our marriage, could have been the opposite for a different marriage. You know what? It's a different guy with a different gal. The guy or the gal might have said, you know what? This isn't working so hot. Uh, you got to spend more time at home. And she never said that to me. She said, just get out there and do what you love.
Well, sounds like you both made a great decision early on. So congratulations to you, man.
Yeah,
That's tremendous.
it's great.
And it's cool that you have all these cool memories together from the golf years and the times, and even talking to your kids about it. Speaking of the memories again, what do you, from your background of tremendous play in golf, there's got to be a round, one round that sticks in your mind as one of your favorite competitive days. Do you have that?
Oh, like a memorable round that just kind of flashes me, and I'm so proud of it. I do have one, and it comes right to mind. It was in 2002 at Fargo Country Club in the North Dakota Open, and I was low amateur in the North Dakota Open for I don't know 8, 9, 10 years out of the 15 years that I played. I just was always the low amateur, and that year in 2002, I was going to be low amateur again, but I was in a final group with Andy Doden and uh, Kevin, a lefty from Minnesota. And prior to that, on Saturday, the wind was blowing, I'm not kidding you, the wind was blowing 40 miles an hour. And everybody, they didn't stop play. Everybody, just the balls are rolling around the greens and everything else. Anyway, to make a long story short, I shot 64, but I closed on the back nine, birdie, eagle, birdie to shoot 64. And we get done, we sign our cards. I walk in the clubhouse, and everybody's buzzing about the weather, about how well or how lousy they played. And I walk in, and the room is talking about my 64, and there must have been 100 guys in there. And it was pats on the back and everything else. And they said, how could you possibly shoot that number? I said, you know what? I don't know, but I did it. And I finished birdie, eagle, birdie. And we sat down at the table, and it was a memorable round. It really was. And John Dahl's there. He was my great friend, my golf swing coach. And we're sitting there, and one of my buddies says, so who's got your bag tomorrow, Poet? I'll caddy for you. And John said, I've got the bag. He pointed at himself. He said, I've got the bag. So Sunday morning, we're back at Oxbow now, where I lived and where John was out there as a golf pro. And I'm on the range warming up, and he said, I said to John, I says, John, I'm a little nervous. He said, well, you should be. He said, you're leading the golf tournament. And I've got your bag. I'll help you. Yeah, we're gonna do just fine. Confident guy. So anyway, we play the round, and it's tight at the end, and I've got a one-shot lead on 18. Okay, John's got my bag, and I figure if I make a par, somebody else has to make a birdie. So I pull out the 18th hole at Fargo is probably 450, 440, whatever. And I'm going to hit this 3-iron down the fairway and get it in play. And I grabbed the iron out of the bag, and he grabbed the driver and gave it to me. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but this is really close. He said, Code, he said, you've got one chance to win this golf tournament, and it's right now. He said, you take this driver, complete your backswing, and hit it as hard as you can. And the ball went about 285 right down the middle of the fairway. I knocked a 9-iron on the green about 10 feet and made it for birdie and won by two.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, and I love the way John Dahl dealt with that situation because he's right. I mean, this is your chance. This is your moment. Do it,
Yeah,
hit it. And I'm glad you ripped it. That's
and that's
beautiful.
John, and that's John Dahl, and that's a wonderful memory. It really is. And I won the golf tournament besides, and he was so proud of me. It
Well,
was
I
it was
bet.
great. Yeah, you bet.
So it's funny just talking to you today and learning so much about your golf history, which I love, and it's better than I'd hoped. Even it's tremendous. Well, I contacted you and said, Mike, would you be interested in doing a podcast? And you basically were saying, well, what's a podcast? And I understand that because I don't know much about them either. But as I've started to do more of these, a little more frequent, I'm getting a kick out of it because I'm learning such great golf stories and life from everyone's golf life. And for me to do this, it's pretty interesting. But since we've been talking today, as everyone knows you up north, it's Pody. Mike Podolak is Pody. And I thought to myself, you know what? I may rename this podcast into a Podycast because it seems to fit a lot better.
Oh, that flatters me. That is that's fun stuff for me, and I know it is for you too, because you and I are connected now.
Yep.
And I knew of you because of the whip and where you came from in Grand Forks. We got a lot of common friends that play golf, and the Podcast. I love that.
I could trademark that. I bet.
I can't help you with that.
So one of my memories of you in the '80s, when I started playing in state amateur events, probably in 1985, '86, I would remember you playing the Ping Beryllium. Like this is a Ping I2, but it's not the Beryllium. But I recall those, and those were to me maybe the most classic golf clubs of all time, in the sense of they made a statement. Somebody had Ping Berylliums.
They did, yes.
And did you play with those at the Masters?
No, I did not. That was 86, 85. That's a good question, Jim. I don't think I did. I think I played with a set of Rams that I won the Mid-Am with, and that I played in the Walker Cup with. But I had a set of Berylliums, but I didn't play them. So I came back from the Walker Cup. And so remember the berylliums and the gold and the silver ones that you had right there had box grooves.
Yes, this one does
And
here.
I came back from the Walker Cup, and I'm playing in the North Dakota Open, and John Dahl and Jim Ahern.
Oh,
Jim
yeah,
Ahern played a lot of golf and played the Champions Tour.
yep,
So
I
we're on the
do.
tee. It's kind of a sloppy, wet morning, and they hadn't cut it, so John Dahl gave me a 7 iron, and he said, "See if you can hit a flyer with this." So the story about the berylliums and the pings with the box grooves is the ball wouldn't jump. I don't care what kind of lie you had. You couldn't make it fly. And sometimes you want it to jump and fly.
Sure.
So anyway, yeah, it was good. With the wedges, that's great. You can make it spin. And that's why
Sure.
they outlawed them, right? That's why they became, you can't
They're,
play them.
they were the best, yeah. Hey, this will bring back some memories for you.
Oh, you're an Amana guy. I love that.
Everybody was wearing these in the late '70s and '80s, in my memory.
That was Larry Nelson was an Amana guy. Um, a whole bunch of guys out there that Amana got Amana had on. They paid him, I don't know, $25 a tournament to wear that hat. Something like that.
Hey, let me ask you this. You obviously had some good help with John Dahl, some of the bigger name the amateurs that play in all the events. Have you helped out many people coming up in the Fargo Oxbow area or talk with them about their games coming up?
Oh, of course I don't teach. I'm a lousy teacher. Uh, I can see a bad grip when I see one and everything else, and I try to teach. I taught my daughters. I was a high school golf coach for a couple of years for the girls at Kindred, and yeah, some of those girls actually listen to me. Um, but when I try to give my wife some advice, I said, you know what, this isn't working. You need to go to John Dahl, okay? No, as far as a mentor, maybe.
Yeah, the mental side I think would be where
I've
you'd be
talked to a lot
strong.
of young kids. Yeah, it's been fun. They ask me questions, and that's a while ago. I'm not disconnected from golf right now. I just don't um, I just don't play a lot anymore, and I don't play tournament golf. I play with my buddy Reed O'Lean from Oaks. We're playing best balls and stuff like that. the stuff with no pressure,
Yeah. Good to have a partner. But
Right.
yeah, I would think just with the 26 or 7 USGA events played in, you would have a mental approach most people don't have access to. And then winning 23 or was it like 23 state amps there in North Dakota? So, I mean, you got some high level experience in that regard. What would you say to me and the people who will be listening to this about what would you say to them about how do you prepare for an event that's maybe outside of your comfort zone? Like you go into a USG event early on, it's a different feeling. How would you explain to how to prepare for that?
Well, you look at your game, like we all know, your game can change from week to week or month to month, and you know what you have when you get to a particular event. But for me, it was pretty much mental preparation. I had the game I had, and if the ball goes right to left, left to right, usually I'm a fader, that kind of thing. So you just tell yourself that, um, I was always a guy that got prepared mentally. And, in North Dakota events, I was expected to contend, if not win. You get to a big event like a national event, and I'm just trying to find my place, make the match play, have a good showing, whatever it might be, make yourself feel good. And that's really mentally because you've got the golf game you've got.
Yep.
God gave you the golf game you have, and you really can't change it very much. Once you start to change stuff, then it can go sideways on you. Play with what you got, you know. I've always believed that. Yeah.
What about positive affirmations? I mean, you tell yourself a lot of positive things coming into it, or how do you deal with that? Like, are you building yourself up?
Well, you got to believe in yourself.
Yep.
That's most important. You got to trust yourself. Trust yourself to make good decisions. And if the ball's going sideways for you for a couple holes, just know that I've played some of my best rounds starting out maybe bogey bogey.
Really?
And then the fear of God comes in and you go, God, I feel like I'm gonna shoot 80. And you refocus and you make a couple good swings, you make a couple putts, you get some confidence back, and pretty soon you're shooting 4 under after you started bogey bogey. And I've played some of my worst rounds, most disappointing rounds, when I went birdie birdie birdie, and you get a little lax out there. You get protective
Yep.
and instead of aggressive. When you're 300, get to five. When you're two over, you got to get to even. Then you make a couple par or make a couple more birdies, and now you're aggressive again. And that's when I think a lot of players that played competitively, and you're one of them certainly, that would say, you know what, um, be careful what you wish for, which is a really fast start, which is good if you know what to do with it. Yeah, you know, try to make more birdies. Don't get protective. So that's a big part of being into it mentally.
Yep. No, I think
So it's
that's great perspective. I think that's
yeah,
exactly right.
it's all interesting, and I don't know how many players now that are growing up understand that, but if they have some ability and they play enough and they play in tournaments, and that's the moment of truth is when you tee it up and you got to put your score on a board someplace. Instead of just playing casual golf, your little $10 Nassau with your buddies.
Yep. So, your golf career is, hard to compete against in the sense of what you won, what you played in, the levels you got to, and that's what got you into the North Dakota Golf Hall of Fame. And you were the epitome of who would be in the Golf Hall of Fame. Now, I just recently, as you know, was just inducted into the North Dakota Golf Hall of Fame,
Yes.
and not as I mean, my game was okay, and I did some things, but it had a lot more to do with, I believe, my what I brought to the game of golf, the orange whip and the training products that help train an athletic golf swing. But I don't believe I was considered seriously until I grew the mustache. And I think the mustache is the key element that pushed me over the edge And it was funny. It's a tribute to Mike Podolak and what he's done for the game. I thought, if you grow that mustache, I, I could get a little bit more influence from the North Dakota folks.
Am I responsible for that mustache that you have? You
Oh
kind of
yeah.
because I had one, you know,
You go
I
ahead.
was playing flag football at SMU when I transferred there with Mike Barge. We're out there, horsing around on a weekend with a bunch of guys, and I took a fall and I lost my balance and I hit my face like a airplane
Oh,
flying into the runway, and I was all scarred up, and so I couldn't shave for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks. And I got this little fuzzy mustache growing through the scabs, and finally the scabs fell off, and I thought, geez, I think maybe I'll try to leave that. And you know what? I've had it ever since. That
that's
was
nice.
in let me think about this, 1978, 77.
Wow. Burt Reynolds there.
It's a long time for this guy here. So I'm not proud of it, but I can't imagine being without it.
Well, I'm getting about 3 years in to have one, and I like it. I have a fairly broad nose, and I think it balances out the face. So I think I'm with it for good. I've got a lot of grief from my friends about it, but I think it's staying.
No, that's got style.
Yeah.
I think that is you for sure. Have you tried to, have you shaved it in the last 3 years? You could probably grow yours back in about 4 days. It would take me like 4 years. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I did once as kind of a practical joke, but I did grow it back pretty quick.
You got to kind of play with yourself sometimes,
Yeah, you got to
with
see.
Your features,
No, I think it. I always tell people it changed my life, so that's why I grew.
Well, you know what? Let's go back to what you said about influence on golf. I I've I think I've had influence on certain individuals. I can't pick anyone out except for maybe my daughters because they learned how to play golf because I was a golfer and they weren't forced into it. They liked it because they loved me and they wanted to be a golfer too. And that's big. What you brought to the game with the orange whip and the orange peel was remarkable. The orange whip, like I told you when we chatted on the phone a couple times, I said, I've got three of them. And I've only got one in my garage right now downstairs in my basement, goes back and forth because either my sons-in-laws have one or I gave it to somebody and they haven't returned it. But it's probably the warm-up tool in golf
Up. I'm
because
glad for that. Yes.
they're in tour bags, they're in the Corn Ferry bags. Everybody's got one that know how to play,
Yep.
you know.
And it's interesting. I designed it for the people struggling to learn the swing. It was my intention. I taught golf for many years, and I had so much difficulty teaching people to swing in rhythm with nice balance until I came up with this. So it was really for that intention. But I'm probably more proud that the better players like yourself
Yeah.
like it, understand it, and utilize it. So that was a very satisfying moment.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm going to go back to a story where we started at Odessa College, and I failed to recognize him by name. His name was Barry Rodenhaber, my junior college golf coach, the guy that said my hair was too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had too many guys on scholarship. I didn't have a chance. He actually asked me, "What else do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm a baseball player." Well, I know a coach at Big Springs that looking for baseball players. I said, "You know what? I don't want to play baseball. I'm here to play golf." And then, of course, Barry gave me the opportunity, which changed my life. Uh, but he ended up at SMU
Hmm.
as their coach,
Okay.
and he's a dear friend and a longtime friend to this day.
All right. How old? How much older was he than you?
Barry?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Barry's probably 10 years my older. I'd say Barry's 83.
Okay.
When I was 18 and he was the 31, as my coach, I thought, man, here's an old guy telling me what to do. 31 years old, and he's trying to keep these young punks in line. You guys got to go to class. We're going to miss enough school the way it is playing golf. Trips, 5 or 6 a semester. He said, when you get back, you have to get in the book and you got to go to school. And that was tough enough. It really was because
Uh,
nobody wanted to go to class, did they?
no, no, especially golf takes so much time, and the more you want to improve, the more time you got to put in. So then you got to study, then you got class. I was glad to be done with golf when I finished.
Yeah, I was too. But Barry Rodenhaver was a certainly a mentor of mine for sure.
Yeah. Well, Pody, this has been tremendous. I really appreciate the time and the conversations. And I tell you what, we were thinking, we could talk for hours about it. Only scratch the surface of all the cool experiences you've had with the game of golf. But you also provided a ton of inspiration for a guy like me. I mean, just early on seeing your name in the newspapers all the time. And then when I finally got the chance to meet you, had a chance to watch you hit golf balls. And you did it like a pro. I mean, you dressed like a top-notch tour player, even when you're playing in our sit-ams and different events. So you were a great inspiration for me, and I know many other golfers. So thank you for all of that. Thanks for taking the time today to do this. This has been fun.
Thanks for having me. And what you just said there warms my heart. It really does because golf is a conduit to a lot of things for a lot of people. And you don't have to be a good player to understand and enjoy golf and let it lead you in places to meet people and travel and just have a good time. You bet. It's a wonderful game.
Wonderful. And that's why I was fortunate to have found it through neighbor kids because it's changed my whole life. My whole life is based on golf, basically. And I've got friendships all over the country and the world because of it. So yeah, I love it. And I hope to be like you and still play good golf for a long time.
With
That's
the
the goal
people
of
I've
mine.
met because of golf, I can't count them. I've got so many friendships and relationships because of golf, and it's just if it's changed your life, I know it has. It's certainly changed mine for a long, long time, and it's a wonderful thing.
Well, let's try to get you to come visit me down here. We'll play some old school Bellata and Pacific golf, or when I get up to North Dakota next summer, I definitely want to play golf with you at
Let's
Oxbow. It
get
would
let's
be
get something
great.
lined up because you're back, and
Yep,
I look forward to doing that and being with you. And thanks for this opportunity to share my stories.
you bet, you bet. And yeah, it'll be fun when we get it completed. I'll get you the final cut so you can take a look at it. All right, Cody, I'm going to click this off, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Jim.